It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown here, and we are live tonight to speak about the post-fight reaction, to Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. We're going to just give our thoughts on that fight. We got the show that will be coming up later on later on during the week, should I say? Struggling to get my words together today, but yeah, we got the show.
To the head.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, the fallout from that fight. I've got my main man here right in the building with me. As you guys know, you know who he is. Laurie from AFTV in the house. Big up to everybody about to join the stream. You guys know what to do. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to touch on the whole Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz fight, our thoughts on that and feedback. But some breaking news today. Your boy Tyson Fury has come out and he's issued a public call out to Anthony Joshua for a fight this year. Public call out. He did a video. He said, let's get it on. Usyk's not fighting this year. I'll fight you for the WBC belt this year. Let's get it on. Now, I've seen the video shared everywhere. Fury's come out on top of that video and said, this is a genuine call out. I want to have this fight with AJ. He could fight for the WBC belt. We could have it at Wembley. Now, if you're Eddie Hearn, and I want to get your opinion, first of all, how genuine you think this call-out is. I'm not sure if you saw the video, but I also want to know if you're Eddie Hearn and AJ, would you call out his bluff on this? Like, what's your thoughts on this call-out? And just before I let you speak, I want to big up my bro, Harvey. He can't join the stream tonight. Michael Maxwell, big up, bro. Francisco, IB is saying here, he's talking about the football. I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, that'll be for another day. I'll let you talk about that.
This is a boxing show. We'll talk about boxing.
IB is trying to wind us up. And Quan Big Guns. Big up Quan in the building, man. Always good having you on the stream. But yeah, let me give the floor to you, Laurie, on your thoughts on this call out between Fury and AJ.
Well, you know what, Daryl? You may well be surprised at what I'm about to say. And I quite like it, to be honest. Number one, it was nice to see a video with Tyson Fury without him calling people dossers, that ridiculous term he always comes out with, without all the epithets, without all the swearing. It seemed genuine to me, I must admit. Maybe he's pulling the wool over our eyes once again. But I must admit, man, and yeah, so I saw the video. I did watch it this afternoon. And I thought to myself, you know what, it does actually make a lot of sense because AJ had said, hadn't he, that he wants to get back in the ring before the end of the year. He's on the record as saying that. Usyk is on the record as saying he doesn't want to fight for the rest of the year, which is fine. I mean, he's just come off a hard training camp and a hard fight against AJ. Something it's not hard physically, but mentally, you know what I'm saying? Having to get up for a fight like that. He's won the title. He wants to rest on his laurels a bit. And plus, we all know that there's the situation in his country to think about. Probably not seen his wife and kids for a while. So that makes perfect sense. So that leaves a spot free in the calendar. And if Tyson Fury, I mean, he's obviously shelved this ridiculous retirement nonsense. And he said he wants to come back against AJ. Listen, man, I'd much rather that than Manuel Charr, Dillian White rematch or a Derek Chisora rematch. And now it's whether AJ's going to agree to it. I don't think they will. But I'll tell you what, I've got no problem with a call out, to be honest.
Yeah, why not though? Why shouldn't AJ? Why would they turn it down?
I don't think they will entertain it because I don't think they will want to appear to be like bushwhacked into a fight by Fury. You know what I mean? There's a lot of politics and a lot of machinations going on. The two camps don't like each other. I know that Tyson Fury and Eddie Hearn despise each other, really, don't they? So I can't see Eddie Hearn agreeing to that. And I can't see Joshua agreeing to it. But fair play to Tyson Fury. He's engaging in a bit of one-upmanship and he's probably going to make himself look in a good light for a change instead of some of the other adverse stuff he comes out with.
Yeah. Go to the comments.
Yeah, you're probably surprised at that, aren't you? You probably expected me to start trapping. But yeah. I actually quite like it.
Go to the comments here. Mohammed says here, hey guys, I'm just checking up on you after yesterday's result. Yeah, I'm not well. I'm not good. I'm not enjoying it. I'm still not happy about it.
Last time I looked at the table, we were still top. So
IB says here, typical Fury tactic, call out AJ, offer 20%, knowing he won't take it, and then call him a ducker. It's not genuine at all. They'll lowball him, and he'll use it as an excuse to fight Manuel Char. Why isn't anyone talking about the fact he's ducking Usyk by calling out Char and AJ? Laurie.
He did say in his call-out address that Usyk's announced that he's not going to be fighting to the end of this year. So I guess what he's saying is, in the meantime, let's do it. And it does kind of make sense like that, because AJ had already been on the record as saying he wants to fight again before the end of the year. So if you look at it from that perspective, I don't know, this 20%, I don't know. I don't think there's been any offer. I think it's just an initial call out, isn't it? He's saying, look, if you accept the initial call out, I'll give you my number and we can start negotiations behind the scenes. Now, listen, we know what Tyson Fury is like. It probably is smoke and mirrors, but for once, he's actually got his PR right. I think it's quite an interesting take. You know what I mean?
Big up Himanshu in the building. Yeah, listen, my thoughts on this is, you know, in a perfect world, you know, yeah, it would, you know, AJ would look at that call out and be like, you know what, I've lost my last two. You know, I've already publicly said that, you know, I'm not going to go chase, even though this is for a world title. He said he's not going to go publicly, you know, chasing around the belts like he was before. He's interested in making the big fights. This is a huge fight for the UK. Even now, Fury will, of course, be the heavy favorite going in. But there are still quite a few people I know out there that look at it and say styles make fights. AJ will always have a style that may trouble Fury. Fury would be the favorite, however. But they'd say that it still makes sense. It would still draw a big crowd. But realistically, like you, I can't see it. I can't see AJ and Hearn bowing down to the demands of Tyson Fury, even at this stage, considering that he suffered another loss. Fury is the champ. Because to me, it seems like in their head that they're always going to be the A side against Fury. Even now, I just can't imagine they'd like take the lower end, fight on the Queensbury show, and there's too many obstacles.
That's what I'm saying. They don't want to appear to be dancing to Fury's tune. So
in
it's not
3 months. It's September.
But
you think that's going to be done by the end of the year? Nah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen, but it's quite a clever piece of maneuvering by Tyson Fury for a change. It's much better than his other bombastic nonsense that he comes out with. At least this is kind of credible. And some people will embrace it as such. Like I said, I don't think AJ will take the bait. But if he did, I mean, let's face it, it does kind of make sense, given that he said he wants to fight again before the end of the year. And he's also fast-tracked himself into another title shot that he wouldn't, let's face it, doesn't really deserve. It's right there on a plate. I'm pretty sure they won't agree on financials, and I'm pretty sure Eddie Hearn and the likes are not going to want to be seen to dance into Tyson Fury's tune, because it looks like Tyson Fury threw them a bone and they're running after it, innit? They're not going to want to. There's too many goals involved for it to happen.
Yeah. I think with AJ, I just like first of all, what I will say is that let's not, you know, divert from, you know, what we're all looking for here, which is the undisputed title fight between Fury and Usyk. I've seen Fury talk about Manuel Char and, you know what I mean, now talking about AJ. Oh, like, let's not forget what we want. We want the undisputed showdown above anything. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know what's going on with Usyk. I did see some quotes from Usyk saying that he would prefer to sit out for the rest of the year, fight Fury next year. And if that is the case, then Fury has every right to take another fight before then, because that would be, he likes to be active. He said he wants to be an active fighter. So if you're looking at next year, you're looking at 4, 5, 6 months for that fight to happen. So I can understand why Fury would want to get in the ring before that. So to me, he's not really doing anything wrong here. He's saying, look, if you're not going to fight me, Usyk, by December, I want you in December, then I'm going to fight someone else. So I don't really see anything wrong with what he's doing.
That's what I'm saying. It's an excellent bit of PR by Tyson Fury. For once, he's actually come up with something that A, is credible, and B, makes sense, even though it probably won't happen. And like I said, the call out was very respectful. He didn't indulge in any epithets or any bombastic nonsense. It was just a straight call out. We had his belts on him, and he seemed to be serious. However, like I said, I don't see AJ and Eddie Hearn taking the bait, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let's face it, that is still a fight that grabs a lot of people's attention, not just in this country, but around the world. People would love to see that fight because, as you said earlier, Daryl, styles make fights. So they could sell that fight straight away off the back of, you know, Joshua lost twice to Usyk, southpaw, tricky, nimble, completely opposite style, really, to Tyson Fury.
Abby says here, I'll always think that AJ will have Fury's number and beat him. I'm sure Laurie would agree. Do you think now if they fought...
I'm not so sure I would agree now because the trouble is, let's be honest, man, boxing, it's one of those sports, isn't it? What have you done for me lately? AJ's, in reality, he's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. So his confidence levels are going to be nowhere near what they were when this fight was being spoke of a few years back. And for that reason as well, I don't think AJ will take the fight because although I think I've lost Darryl.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay. So although I've lost my train of thought with him disappearing off the screen. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is a few years ago, I'm sure AJ would have jumped at the opportunity or should have jumped at the opportunity. Now I'm not so sure. It's a different marketplace now, isn't it? I mean, AJ, his confidence levels are not going to be the same. His psyche and aura and mentality is not the same, especially after the meltdown we saw a few weeks back. Is he going to jump back in there against a formidable opponent like Tyson Fury, or is he going to want to get back in there with somebody he knows he can beat? I think you're going to see the latter. I definitely think AJ needs to get back in the ring soon. I don't think he needs to leave it too long. Let's be honest, that fight he had with Usyk, whilst it was an intriguing fight and it was entertaining up to a degree, it wasn't what you would call a grueling fight, was it? It wasn't. In fact, you could argue both of them were much more in the first fight.
I think it took a lot out of him mentally, that fight, man.
Yeah,
we saw afterwards, but I think just Usyk kind of mentally drains you anyway when you're in the ring. But all the thinking on your feet and the pressure that he was under, that's why some people believe he may take a break. And I feel like with AJ right now, he's not going to want to dance to anyone's tune. He's going to be like, look, I'm managing my career. I want to do it how I want to do it. And I'm not going to let Fury dictate to me, like, you know, when we.
But in terms of getting back in the ring, I think that although, you're right, mentally it was a shattering loss for him. But sometimes when it's a bit like football, isn't it? You'll often hear teams saying, if they come off the back of a heavy defeat, and I'm not talking about Arsenal or Man United, by the way, they would say that the turnaround in games offers them a chance to get back to winning ways quickly. So they literally want to play a game as soon as possible to try and put out of memory the bad performance they had previously. And I think AJ's kind of looking at it like that. He wants to get back in there, get a win, a much needed win, get his confidence back up, start rebuilding. And, you know what I mean, big fights will happen down the road. He's AJ. He's the main attraction. He remains one, even though he lost to Usyk. Because let's face it, although he lost, it wasn't like he got blown away. He put up a creditable effort, and he's still a massive name in the sport.
What do you think is a realistic option for both of them now then? Starting off with Tyson Fury, what do you think is realistic for both of them next?
I think we'll see Tyson Fury in the ring before the end of the year. I mean, like I said, it's quite a clever call out of AJ, but I'm pretty sure Tyson Fury knows deep down it's not going to happen. So AJ is probably on a long list of about 6 opponents that Frank Warren's drawn up. And I'm pretty sure we'll see him in the ring and he'll get another win against a fairly nondescript opponent. And then he'll start banging the drum for the Usyk fight sometime next year.
Yep. It's a win-win for AJ Fury, this call out. Like you said, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Because like I said, I thought it was quite clever.
Yeah. What about AJ? Realistically, next for him, Dillian Whyte did an interview a few days ago at the show at the weekend, the Boxer show. He said that, you know, he was up for an AJ fight. Hearn said that wouldn't be next. So that kind of gives you an indication that, he probably won't accept Fury's call out. Hearn said that won't be next, but Dillian Whyte said he was up for that.
He did say they would fight Dillian Whyte, though, didn't they?
They would, but I don't think it was going to be
Yeah.
So what will you see for AJ next? Will it be this year? Will it be against a top 15 level type of opponent? What would you reckon?
I reckon we'll see him either late this year or early next year. Again, it will be against a fairly nondescript opponent. Somebody, not a ridiculous opponent, but somebody who will beat comfortably. And like I said, it's a confident rebuilding exercise, isn't it?
Yeah.
To put his name out there, to get him a couple of wins, to get people talking about him again in a positive light. And he's got a new trainer. Well, actually, it remains to be seen if he'll retain the services of Robert Garcia. I guess he probably will, and he will be able to showcase it as me on another phase of his career, the rebuild phase.
Big up Ian Hamilton in the building. I see you, bro. Big up our guy Obes in the building. We got a lot of Man United fans in the building today, man. Got a lot of Man United fans here, you know.
I wonder why that.
But yeah, I mean, let's see what happens, man. You never know with Fury. I've stopped taking him seriously a long time ago. But like you said, it was a clever call out, and I doubt that AJ and the team will take them up on it. But whatever happens, Fury comes out looking good from it. Because if AJ don't take it, they'll be like, see, Fury called him out, man, gave him another chance. He didn't want it. You know what I mean? So listen, fair play to Fury. It's very smart move there.
On this occasion, yeah, he's played a bit of a blinder. Fair play to Tyson Fury. It did actually make me smile when I see him do it. And the way he did it as well, very respectful. No swearing, no dosser nonsense. Just straight to the point. And he came across as quite sincere. Which I can't always say about Tyson Fury, I must say. But hey, you know what I mean? He's the man in situ with the belts. Well, one of the two men in situ with the belts. So, all right.
Let's talk about last night's fight between Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. Now, Andy Ruiz winning a 12-round unanimous decision, knocking Luis Ortiz three times en route to the points win. However, for me, listen, congratulations to Andy Ruiz. Very good win. Luis Ortiz is still a dangerous fighter, and he showed that last night at times. It was, even though there were 3 knockdowns in the fight, it was a closer fight than, it definitely seemed. Like, if you're just to see the headline, you would think to yourself, oh, Andy Ruiz, what a perfect way to win, man. 3 knockdowns and a unanimous decision. But if you actually watch the fight, Ortiz looked all right in there.
You know what? Yeah, but for the knockdowns, that's a very close fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think that, he landed some great lefts from his southpaw stance, but the punch resistance for Luis Ortiz now seems to have gone. We're heading into, it's like what you said about Dylan White. I feel like Luis Ortiz, he got clipped to be fair, it was on the temple, which does scramble your brain a bit, but he left that wide open for Ruiz to hit on numerous times. And ultimately, it cost him the fight. We saw him put down against Charles Martin. Now, Andy Ruiz, he's probably coming towards the end of his career now. He is like 42, 43 years old officially. So, yeah. What do you think, Laurie? Andy Ruiz, though, got a good chin, took some solid shots in there. He called out Deontay Wilder, who seemed like he was up for that as well. Your thoughts on the actual fight itself?
Yeah, it was a decent fight. Actually, I'd meant to watch it live, but it was just on too late. So I did catch up with it today, and it was an entertaining fight, as I knew it would be. But I also said on your show that I'd seen Luis Ortiz in his previous fight against Charles Martin, and he was showing signs of being a shot fighter. And I think even though he performed okay in this fight, as you mentioned earlier about the punch resistance and stuff like that, there were times as well where he was just being like getting his shots off a bit slow. He weren't letting his hands go the way he would have done a few years back. And those fractions of a second, you know what I mean? That's what it means at that level. It's fine margins. And Andy Ruiz looked a bit sharper, was countering well. And when he caught Ortiz, he was hurting him. You know what I mean? And that was probably the difference. So,
second one, I'll agree with Himanshu and Francisco. The second one weren't a knockdown. It was more of a push, really.
Yeah,
the second knockdown.
That's true.
But yeah, carry on.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think the knockdowns kind of swung it to him. He won it on all 3 cards, didn't he? But like I said, when you're getting dropped by a jab from Charles Martin, it's not a good look, is it? So going into this fight, obviously Andy Ruiz is a better fighter than Charles Martin, punches harder. So I'm not really surprised at the outcome. I think Luis Ortiz is shot, not heavily shot, but you know what I'm saying, he's way past his best. I think a few years ago, he beats Andy Ruiz for me.
Yeah.
But not now. And that's the problem for Ortiz. What's going to happen from here on in? Is he going to be a stepping stone for the younger guys coming up, the Jared Andersons and the Philip Hergoviches of this world? You know what I mean? Does he want to go out like that? Because I don't think he's going to get another title shot at this rate, is he? So he's just going to be seen as a gatekeeper. Is that how he really wants to go out the sport? I'm not so sure.
Well, look, I put this out there today on Twitter. How about Luis Ortiz and Dillian Whyte? You know, they've got a bit of history. Their punch resistance, both of their punch resistance is a bit to be told.
That's a good look.
Why not?
I must say, given his greater skill set and the fact that he's a southpaw, I'll probably lean towards Luis Ortiz in that fight. I know that doesn't sound very patriotic, but Dillian's last performance worried me, man. I saw stuff from Dillian in there. He looked gun shy. He looked like a guy that was plodding. And of course, the punch resistance looked poor. So it could be one of those that who's got the most amount left.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think that would be a good build up because, you know,
I'm not sure if Dillian will want to take that, though. I'm not sure because it's a good fight. It's a good fight aesthetically. But I think Dillian's looking for fights against AJ and people like that. Maybe Joe Joyce, maybe even Daniel Dubois. None of those he wins, in my opinion. But if you're going to lose, why would you lose to Luis Ortiz, who is a guy that everyone thinks is pretty much shot anyway? You see what I'm saying? So I don't see Dillian would want to. He'll probably look at that. Probably get the least amount of money out of those 4 fights we just mentioned. So he'll probably swerve that and think, nah. Not that he's scared of him. I just think it doesn't make financial sense for him or business sense.
Yeah.
Or even career sense. It's a good fight for us aesthetically, like I said. But if you're Dillian Whyte and Dillian Whyte's people, and they present you with a short list of fights, AJ, Joe Joyce, Dillian Whyte, people like that, and then, you know, you look down the list and you see Luis Ortiz. I don't see Dillian say, yeah, man, give me Luis Ortiz. I don't see that happening.
I've seen some, you know, Luis Ortiz apologists come out and say that he's been successfully aged out. Now,
that is true to a degree.
You can agree with that, yeah?
Yeah, because when a few years back now, I can remember when Eddie Hearn signed him, remember? And yet he wasn't able to get him any fights. And Eddie had a number of heavyweights in his stable at that time, and it seemed that no one wanted to fight him. Now, there's got to be a reason why. I mean, if they thought he was light work, they would have fought him, wouldn't they? You know how this thing goes. But no one was putting their hand up, man. And he ends up fighting Wilder. He had 2 great fights with Wilder, especially the first one, when he came very, very close to being heavyweight champion of the world. But it didn't quite happen for him. He's not been managed the best. He's not managed himself the best as well, has to be said. And it's not quite happened for him, which is a shame because I think a guy of his talents could have done even better than he's done.
Well, there was that opportunity where he could have fought AJ. He was mentioned as a you know, a replacement. Was that for Jarrell Miller? I think it was before Andy Ruiz took it. Actually, Ortiz was offered the fight, and he asked for. From what I remember, my memory is a bit cloudy. I'm sure someone in the comments can confirm. But from what I remember, it was a genuine offer. But Ortiz and his people took that offer and like called their bluff a bit too much in terms of the money.
Yeah, I heard that. I did hear that as well. Yeah, this is what I said earlier about he's not managed himself the best. Because what fighters like Luis Ortiz have got to remember, it's not just talent, is it? It's marketability. So if you get an offer, you may consider a low ball offer, but sometimes you got to think past that and think of the long-term effects. So say he takes that fight with AJ, the money's not very good, but you either beat AJ and then you ascend to world title holder, Or even if you put up a good fight, you put your name out there. You know what it's like. You put your name out there, and all of a sudden, people are talking about you. So sometimes, rather than just turn down these fights and say, "Oh, they were paying me money that I didn't think I could take because that's, you know, what I mean, not, I'm worth way more than that." Which, you know, let's be honest, these things do happen. Sometimes, if you're thinking strategically, you think, you know what, the money's not very good. However, if I beat this guy, or even if I put up a really good fight against him, I'm going to get more fights off the back of that performance. So it's what they call in business sometimes a loss leader. Have you heard of that expression?
I've heard
Loss
that expression.
leader expression. So sometimes you've got to take that kind of outlook or mentality into what you're doing and say, look, you know what I mean? And lots of fighters have had to do that. Take title fights for not very good money. Even Floyd had to do that. I've heard Floyd talk about that a few times. He took fights at certain times in his career and he felt the money was beneath him at the time, but he took it anyway because he backed himself. He thought, if I beat this guy, then I get to call the shots.
Yeah.
I think that was a similar story as well when he fought Oscar De La Hoya. He said he got screwed over in the negotiations. De La Hoya got absolutely everything he asked for, but Floyd backed himself and thought, you know, once I beat this guy, man, I'll be the one calling the shots. And that's what happened. More fighters need to do that.
Let's talk about Andy Ruiz here. Francisco says here at the end of his comment, he says Ortiz is really on the decline, so Ruiz should have looked better against that type of opponent. Andy Ruiz, for me, I don't know if it's just me that I feel like he might have lost a little bit of a step than what he had, you know, against AJ in terms of putting his shots together. I still think he's got a very good chin. I still think he puts his shots together well. But, you know, he's gone through a bit of a transition phase in terms of having a new trainer, like adjusting in terms of the body weight, like losing a lot of weight, then putting it back on. And I feel like he's almost trying to get back to what he's used to, really. So it's been a bit of a transition phase for him. He's still racking up the wins. Obviously, after that AJ loss, he's had, 2 or 3 wins now. So he's called out Deontay Wilder. I think that fight, some people are going to watch that yesterday and think that Wilder will absolutely smoke Ruiz, which could very well happen. But I think that it's a totally different fight in terms of how he approaches it. If he's worried about and wary about Ortiz's power, which is why he didn't engage, then he's going to be really on the back foot against Deontay Wilder. But yeah, I think that's a interesting fight, and I'd like to see it happen. But obviously, Wilder has got to take care of business against Helenius. But for me, Andy Ruiz, yeah, it was a good fight, like Francisco said, but it wasn't the most entertaining fight because they did, stand on the outside a bit too much at times. The Mexican crowd in there were actually booing as well at times. But yeah, Andy Ruiz for you, still a prominent contender in the heavyweight division, yes or no?
Yeah, he's still definitely a name. And let's face it, beating Luis Ortiz, even given, I know it's going to sound slightly contradictory, we were saying that he's a shot fighter, but he still has ability. And he's a southpaw, he can punch, and he's got, lots of ring generalship and all the rest of it. He knows how to handle himself in a ring. It was a fight that I thought Andy Ruiz would win, but I never thought it would be an easy fight. And so it proved. But I did expect him to win. He's got the W. He's going to want to push on with his career. Believe it or not, there will be easier fights out there for him. And the fight with Wilder actually makes a lot of sense. They're both in the same stable and that Al Heyman camp. So it should be an easy fight to make. If, as we expect, Wilder gets past Helenius, which is not by any means certain because we don't know how Wilder's going to look coming off the back of those devastating losses to Tyson Fury. We don't know what he's going to be like. But yeah, if he gets through Helenius, then that fight with Wilder's a natural, and that will be a good fight, an entertaining fight. I wouldn't like to give a prediction yet because I'm kind of waiting to see how Wilder's going to look because I'm not sure how he's going to scrub up, I really know. Because let's be honest, he was never the greatest boxer in the first place, was he? No. Now he's coming back off the back of those 2 very debilitating and humiliating defeats to Tyson Fury, in which, let's face it, he took beatings in both those fights. It's hard to consider him in the same light, isn't it? It's hard to believe that he's going to be the same fighter. And knowing what I know about boxing, I know that defeats like those can severely take it out of you and take some of your confidence away. So this is what I was saying with the Elenius fight. Although Elenius is a winnable fight for him, let's face it, Elenius has been a long-time sparring partner of his. But Elenius is coming off the back of 2 good wins himself against Kaunaki. And if he goes into that fight minus the sparring partner mentality and comes there to win, and if he's actually in there pitching after about 7-8 rounds, you could find that fight takes on a rather dramatic look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not, in other words, what I'm saying, he should get through that Elenius fight, but I can't really say for certain until I see what he looks like in the ring.
Yeah, I agree. And big up Shane and James Burrell. They've given their insight on how a fight with Ruiz and Wilder would play out. Shane says here, Ruiz can't stay on the outside versus Wilder. James says here, Ruiz is a pocket fighter. He never wants to be on the outside. He'll want to be in Deontay's chest. So I agree with it's a totally different stylistic matchup between Ruiz and Fury, for example. Ruiz is a lot shorter to Fury, different dimensions. He would want to work his way inside. I think that would be, he would have to stay as close to Deontay as possible and not allow him to get any room to let go of that big right hand. The question is, will Ruiz be able to close the gap in time to do that? He's got a very good chin, but I just like what you just said, I need to see how Wilder looks in this Helenius fight. Is the stamina going to hold up for me? That's what was really concerning in that last Fury fight. After the 3rd round, he was spent. Now, was that because it was against Fury and how awkward he is and how tall he is and how mauling he is and how the sort of mental effect it had on Wilder going into that fight? There was a lot of emotion going in to that fight. So was that really down to that as to why he really was out of gas so quickly? Or if that is going to be the case going forward with Wilder, then somebody like Ruiz can be like, look, get me through the first couple of rounds of Wilder. I'll take him out.
And the other thing you got to think about with Wilder, I saw a couple of interviews this week that he's given in which he talks quite clearly and openly about saying, I don't need boxing. So you wonder, why are you coming back then? Are you doing it for the adulation, for the fame? Because he says he's not doing it for the money. He says he's not doing it because he's achieved so much in his career. So you kind of wonder, why are you doing it? So then you get to thinking, if he's in a hard dogfight and things are not quite happening, how does that affect his mental mindset in that fight? You know what I mean? What's going to happen? Is he going? We know he can dig deep. We know that. We know Wilder's shown plenty of heart in the past. But what I'm saying is, he's kind of talking like he's got one foot out the door. And that's always very worrying when you talk about professional fighters at this level. You know what I mean? If he gets hit with some real big right hands by Elenius or Ruiz and things are not quite going his way, how will he feel? Will he dig down deep the way he has done in the past? Or will he think, I didn't really want to come back anyway? Because I get the impression with Wilder, he's coming back because people have said, yeah, we want Deontay back. You know what I mean? If you look at some of the YouTube channels and that in America, they've adopted Wilder, haven't they? They've said, he's our guy, you know what I mean? We want him back to liven up the heavyweight division. But that is very different from when Deontay had the fight after, what he said after he had the fight with Fury, when he said, look, I don't need this anymore. He was all set to retire. And then he went away on some sabbatical, remember? And he was talking completely different. I didn't think he was going to come back. And then there was this clarion call by certain people in America for him to come back. And then all of a sudden he said he's going to come back. But like I said, I do have some nagging doubts in the back of my head. The man's talking about, I don't need boxing. You know what I mean? I'm only doing it because, you know what I mean, people want me to come back. I'm not sure if that's why you come back, bro. Not in professional boxing at the highest level. I'm not sure if that's a good enough reason. But we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, the more I think about the fight, the more I'm like kind of curious because, like Shane says here, Ruiz, fast hands, slow feet. That would mean he needs to close the gap quick. If Wilder's got enough left, you'd expect him to really land on Ruiz early, and you never know what will happen when he lands, right? But then if Ruiz is able to get inside, he'll stop Wilder quicker than he stopped AJ, Michael Maxwell was saying. So yeah, maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit in terms of breaking the fight down, but it's definitely a fight that makes sense.
If Wilder gets past Elenius, right, and I'm going to be honest, which is by no means a given, as I said, Hellenius is coming off a couple of good wins himself, so his confidence level is high. The issue I have with Hellenius is he's been a long time sparring partner for Wilder. The history of boxing tells us when you've been a long time sparring partner for a guy and you are seen as that sparring partner, almost subconsciously, that gets replicated if they fight because you're used to performing in a certain way. You're been a subordinate to the main guy. So if he goes in there with anything like that type of mentality, he will get beat. However, he might also look at it and say, well, look, I know everything there is to know about Wilder. I've shared a ring with this guy many times. I also know that he's coming off the back of 2 bad losses. If I can unsettle his rhythm, I can hang in there, make him second guess himself, I can win this fight. So it could be a difficult night's work. Could be. Now, even if he gets past Hellenius, then Andy Ruiz offers completely different style to Hellenius. Hellenius is very European in his style, and he big upright, 1-2, 1-2. Not much variation. He throws basic shots. Ruiz, shorter, looking to get on the inside, good counter puncher, fast hands, good power. He's going to be coming to win in a way that I don't think Hellenius will be coming to win. So he offers a completely different set of obstacles, And I think if they fight again, I have to qualify it by saying I want to see how Wilder looks against Hellenius, but I think that's a 50-50 fight. I really do.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy DS in the building here. He says, yes, family, good to see you in here, bro. The heavyweight division for me, it's always going to be like, I'm always going to be intrigued by that division, man. It has a different sort of feel on the boxing fan compared to any other division. But with Ruiz winning last night, it solidifies him as a contender. I mean, it was an eliminator, that particular fight was, for the WBC belt, which is, of course, held by Tyson Fury. I'm not sure what the rankings are now. I'd have to pull them up. Maybe I could pull them up and we could have a look at it. But in terms of what Ruiz and is looking for, if he don't get the Wilder fight, then, he's in a good position anyway. I'm sure Joyce is high up in those rankings as well. But, Ruiz, for me, there's still a bit more to come from him in terms of his career and whether he can, maintain a weight that he's comfortable at and his best fighting weight. Because, like I said, he seemed to kind of like fluctuate, wasn't sure what he wanted to operate as. He was under Eddie Reynoso and the Canelo camp, left them. Obviously, that wasn't a match for him. Now he seems a bit more comfortable with, what he's doing. But could he become world champion again, Andy Ruiz?
Not right now for me. No. No, I don't think so. I think he's had his shot. He had the upset win over... And see, that's the other thing with Andy Ruiz. Like, he's notoriously goes missing after fights. He's indisciplined. He goes out of shape. It's interesting. I heard him say after the fight yesterday that he wants to be kept busy. To me, that was an ode to his indiscipline, because basically what he's saying without saying it is, if I don't fight, I'm going to fall back into those bad habits, overeating, doing whatever he does. And then he's going to show up 2-3 stone overweight for his next fight. Then he's going to have to boil back down again. You know what I mean? So...
yeah,
I would hazard a guess as to say he probably won't be a world champion again. However, he's still a name out there and a useful name to have on someone's record at this stage of his career.
I think he. This is the rankings for the WBC. I'm not sure if they've been updated since Andy Ruiz defeated Luis Ortiz. They might be, but obviously Tyson Fury is the champ. Wilder is still number one contender. I don't think he's ever going to lose that number one spot. But I'm sure Ruiz will be looking at this fight closely, because the winner of this fight here, obviously Parker's got a win over him. That was a contentious win. He might win.
Very contentious. I saw that fight. Yeah. He won that fight, man. He was robbed in that fight. Yeah. That was actually a robbery. You know what I mean? So, but Ruiz, then that was quite a number of years ago. I'm not sure if that is the same Andy Ruiz that we're seeing now. I don't think it is.
So that's a decent. That could be something that could be looked at there if Parker was to beat Joe Joyce, or even if he wasn't to beat Joe Joyce.
I think if Joyce beats Parker, which I expect him to, I think he'd beat Ruiz. I think Frank Sanchez would beat Ruiz.
You'd pick
Yeah,
Frank Sanchez? Yeah.
yeah, I definitely would. I think he'd outbox him. Makhmedov, I need to see a bit more of him. But there are guys on there that Andy Ruiz could beat: Dillian, Wallin, Hellenius, Bacoli. He's competitive against all those guys. Hunter, even Hrgovic. I mean, Hrgovic was supposed to be the boogeyman, wasn't he?
Well,
Up until
supposed to
he
be.
fought Zilal Yang a few weeks back, and all of a sudden he's not the boogeyman anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? So he'll be competitive against pretty much most heavyweights, but there's a certain level of heavyweight that I don't think he surpasses.
Let's go to some of the comments here. Ian Hamilton says here, I'll just be simple. Wilder decks Ruiz once and it's curtains. For me, Ruiz would be lucky to win if Wilder is up for it. DS has said here, Ruiz's issue versus Wilder is his lack of head movement. Good shout. He has a great chin, but I'm not sure if it will hold up to Wilder's power. James Burrell says,
will Wilder stand up for Ruiz's power?
Well, this is what I need to see. How Wilder look like? What do you think? Was that a stamina issue? Was that just mentally being drained and like it affected him physically against Fury? Because he was really, after that third round, he was spent against Fury. I guess time will tell.
It could have been a lot of things, man. Because I mean, he was noticeably weightier in that fight, wasn't he? So it could have been the discomfort of carrying so much weight, which he's not used to. It could be the fact that his punch resistance is not the same. It could have been a number of factors, but what we do know is he didn't look himself. And what we also know is that Deontay Wilder has got a lot of heart, and that took him as far as why he went that night. But again, you've only got so many beatings in you as a top-level fighter like that, man. And those were two bad beatings he took off the back of Fury, especially that second fight he had with Fury, where he got absolutely pasted. He seemed to be getting knocked down with every decent punch he took.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, in the third fight with Fury, he looked absolutely gone after about 2 or 3 rounds, both from a stamina and a punch resistance perspective. So, which is why I think he looks shot to me. I might be wrong, which is why I want to see how he looks against Hellenius before I start. I think, listen, we need to see how he looks against Hellenius before we even start talking about the Ruiz fight. I guess that's what I've been trying to say without actually saying it, but I'm going to nail it there and then. Yeah. I don't want to hear no talk about a fight with Ruiz until I see how he looks against Hellenius, because I have my doubts about Wilder.
Okay. DS says here, good shout, Laurie. The first meaningful punch Fury caught him with, he was down in the third. Shane says here, he came in too heavy. I hear that, but Fury took some heavy beating. Tyson said he had concussion for days afterwards after that Wilder fight.
Yeah.
Even though Wilder was spent, he still lasted until like what, the 10th, 11th round? And he was spent.
He did that on sheer heart and bravery. One thing you can never take away from Wilder is that the man, he went out on his shield both times, actually. Because even in that second fight, if you remember, when Mark Breland threw the towel in, which obviously led to that big bust-up between them, Deontay Wilder genuinely wanted to carry on. That was no cap, neither. He genuinely wanted to go out on his shield. And there's not too many men born with that type of heart. But the problem with that type of heart is it can get you hurt and get you finished in this sport. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and we was both saying that sometimes it's better for a fighter to suffer a one-punch KO or have one of them stoppages where you get put down 3 times in a round rather than you take a sustained beating for 10, 11, 12 rounds. You know what I mean? None of them are good, don't get me wrong. But sometimes that one-punch knockout, I mean, fighters have been able to come back from being KO'd. I mean, even Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest fighters of all time, you saw what happened to him against Marquez. However, the difference in that fight, it could be argued that he was winning in that Marquez fight up until he got that one-punch knockout. Lennox Lewis, we saw him get knocked out a couple of times. He came back. So one-punch knockouts, although they're not very nice, obviously, and they can be a bit humiliating and embarrassing for the recipient, it can be better for you than taking a sustained beating where you're just getting beaten from pillar to post.
Wilder got both. He got purple in that
Yeah,
first fight.
which is why I say I'm worried about him, man. I'm genuinely worried about how he's going to look. And like I said, if you're Elanius, you're thinking to yourself, you know what? Let me shell up for the first 3 or 4 rounds and take this guy a few rounds and see what he's got.
Yeah.
The trouble is, will Helenius get out of those early rounds? You know what I mean? So that's an intriguing fight.
It's intriguing, yeah. Before we go, your last thoughts on that Andy Ruiz Luis Ortiz fight. Also Isaac Cruz, yeah, great knockout from him on the undercard there. But yeah, just your last thoughts on it all, and referring back to Fury's call out of AJ, for those that might have missed it, whether you think that will happen or not.
Like I said, with the Ortiz, I thought it was a decent fight. I hear what you're saying about the crowd booed at times, but hey, it is what it is. I thought it was a decent fight. The right man won. I predicted Ruiz would win. I said that the fact his youth and his greater volume would prove to be the qualities that got him the win, and so it proved. He also had the punching power to drop Ortiz a few times. Both me and you, Darren, had expressed our concerns that Ortiz had been dropped by Charles Martin, who is not known as a big puncher, but yet he was able to drop Ortiz with a jab and hurt him a couple of other times in that fight as well. And I was looking at that and thinking, well, if you're getting hurt by Charles Martin, no disrespect, but Ruiz is a couple of levels up from him in terms of power. So how's that going to work? And we saw he caught Ortiz clean and dropped him 3 times. So, yeah, man, decent fight. Right guy won. He moves on to the next one. In terms of the call out, like I said, from Fury, one of the times when I'm actually going to say fair play to Tyson Fury, is quite a clever move, quite a good PR move. Don't think AJ will take the bait because, like I said, number one, he ain't going to want to be dictated to by Tyson Fury and his team. And number two, they're not going to want to be seen to be dancing to anyone's tune but their own. They've got their own plans, and I expect them to follow that through. But yeah, clever little market employed by Tyson Fury, if you ask me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, guys, we're going to wrap it up here today. We do have the show to take place this week. If you are around, Laurie, we'll get that on Wednesday.
Yeah, man. There's big fights this weekend. I would say as well, I just before I go, there was a massive upset on that card. I don't know if you watched
the whole card yet. No, but go on.
Yeah, there's a guy on that card called Rayo Valenzuela. And big things are being expected of him. He's been trained by Jose Benavides, who trains the Benavides brothers, David Benavides and Jose Benavides. And yeah, Valenzuela fought a Dominican Republic guy, Es De Santos. It's expected to be a routine win, although it was a last-minute replacement, and he got stopped. Knocked down a couple of times and stopped. That's a massive upset. So, yeah.
I'll check that out. But we like we said, we got a lot to talk about on Wednesday anyway. I'll check that fight out, by the way. We can talk more.
Check that out, man. That was a big upset in America. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, got a lot to look forward to this particular weekend as well. Really looking forward to that card, man, over here at the O2. Not even just the main event, man. I'm looking forward to the chief support as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and we had a good women's fight back in this country at the weekend with Natasha Jonas. She had a good fight at the weekend. I think she unified her world title against a Swedish girl, Bergholt. I watched that. Good fight. Shout out to Dan Aziz as well. He retained his British title by outpointing Shakan Pitters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought he won quite comfortably. I couldn't understand why Shakan Pitters was raising his hand at the end of the fight and expressing disappointment. I thought it was at least an 8-4, maybe a 9-3. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased towards Dan because he's my friend, but he did win the fight. Even the Sky commentators had him well up. So I do believe he won that. And I thought it was a very good performance, actually, against a potentially difficult, dangerous and awkward opponent. 6'6", with long arms and rangy style, you know what I mean? Not always easy, but Dan came through it. Yeah. So, yeah, shout out to Dan Aziz as well. The Liam Smith fight, well, less said about that, the better. It seemed like the guy quit. Although he did seem to hurt Liam Smith a couple of times in that fight. So I don't know quite what was going on there, but it's a strange ending. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this week.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's going to be fireworks, man. I really do.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. But listen, we'll talk about that more on Wednesday.
Yep,
In the
yep.
meantime, everybody in the chat, big up to yourselves. Thank you for joining. Hit the like button on the way out. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll catch you guys later on in the week. And until then, enjoy your evening. And we'll see you very soon, man. Peace.